Hello and welcome to episode number 23 of the Daily Show with DanRam. I am so grateful for everyone who's tuning in. Honestly, this is such a blessing. I never thought when we began this at the start of the month that we'd be doing this for so long, but the guests have been incredible. The conversation has been incredible, but each and every one of you has been incredible. So I can already see people joining this conversation. Thank you, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter for pinging out to the world that we are live and we are here. And boy, oh boy, do we have a good conversation. I can already see a bunch of people responding and commenting. So hello to you wherever you are. Christu Das, Charlie, Perry, my man, out in Scotland, Charlie in Ireland. Good. We've got a good European contingent right now. Hopefully we get some people out in Asia and Africa and South America and North America tuned in as well. So this is why we picked this time. It's my evening. So for those who are curious, this is the bedroom that I'm in, one side of it, and we're broadcasting all over the world. COVID-19 has been horrendous, but it has allowed for some unusual but beautiful things. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about, is some of the beautiful things that are happening, especially around community. And so the Tweeting Goddess says hello. The Tweeting Goddess is a Twitter superstar based out of Ireland. And this lady knows how to build community. Honestly, it is amazing what she has done, especially with women in Ireland, giving them hope, giving them purpose, running these fantastic workshops. So hello, Samantha. That's her real name, is Samantha. That's the Tweeting Goddess. Ram, representing India. Woo! Thank you, man, for tuning in. Ram gets probably the gold star for the most number of episodes that he's been part of. Tweeting Goddess, of course, you're welcome. Tweeting Goddess was so important in my own journey as a speaker in the early days in Ireland when we lived there together. So we've got another great show for you. I'm going to kick things off because I can see the people are here, and thank you for being here and keep coming here and keep commenting. And I love to give you guys shout outs, but I want to talk about a book suggestion and a music suggestion. And then we have got a superstar. The CEO of Helpful is here on the show to talk about how to build great community. And no, not in some hypothetical future. And no, not when life is great, but literally right now. How do you build community in lockdown, in quarantine? Yes, I'm fully aware that the world is a different place, but community, a sense of belonging, feeling loved, connecting, adding value, that does not depend on circumstances. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. It's going to be a good conversation. So I hope you are locked in and ready to go. First up, our book suggestion. This is a special one. It's so special that I'm actually going to have my guest talk about it more. But David France has got this book called Show Up, Unlocking the Power of Relational Networking. This one man is proof that serendipity can open doors far beyond our imagination, that just literally showing up when a door opens, to walk through it, to follow up on it, is all it takes to live a life that is unforgettable. And David France is testament to that. It's how he and I got in touch. Is literally, he saw on Twitter that I had a podcast. And then what happened? The guy took a plane from Boston all the way to Dublin to be on my podcast, which had like 6 episodes. That's all it was. And we have had years of friendship, years of connections. And today's guest could not have happened without David France. The connection that he has opened up adds value, hopefully to Chris, I don't know, maybe, but huge value to me and to this community. And so serendipity, and this is the book. Today's suggestion, you can find it on Kindle, Amazon, Show Up, Unlocking the Power of Relational Networking. And then I was talking to my guest about what he's been listening to during this time. And he reminded me about these 8D tracks. You guys familiar, right, with these 8D tracks? But it's absolutely phenomenal because they have been engineered. It's tracks you're familiar with listening, through some basic speakers, but you stick in headphones and then you click play and it takes you somewhere that your ears and your heart are not familiar with and probably not ready for. And so I'm going to play something little, but do realize I'm playing it via YouTube, via StreamYard, via my lousy speaker. So it's not a great sound, but I just want to tell you, you're in for a treat. And my guest recommendation is the Hans Zimmer, A Dark Night. And so I'm going to play a little piece of that, a little snippet right now. And again, if you're looking for good music to be working to or listening to, here is a little piece of it. And let's have a listen. So it builds up. All right. As with the whole Hans Zimmer soundtracks, patience is key, right? Because it's not like one of these things that we just get to like the big climax of it. It's a 60-minute track, but there's a bunch of these absolutely worth listening to. They're so good. All right. I'm super excited for my guest for today. We have had some superstars on the show. I cannot believe that they give their time and all their value for free. I hope Chris realizes this is for free. I'm just kidding. He knows it's for free. I mean, I love this season because everybody is showing up, to keep using that phrase, showing up for each other. And this man, this is what he does constantly throughout the year in different communities in the US and around the world. And today he's going to get you thinking about how to build a great community. Please welcome to the show, it's Christopher Wolfel. How are you?
What's going on, everyone? Thanks for having me, Dan.
Oh, man, I'm so happy to have you on the show. Where are you right now?
I am actually in my in-laws' basement in the great state of Maine, way up north in the northeast of the United States.
Are you there by choice or are the basement is hard to tell, you know?
Here by choice. When we had realizations of a lockdown, we also have an 11-month-old son, so getting up here for some extra hands and extra help and more space getting out of the city drove us up here, and we've been here over a month.
Oh, man, well, I'm glad that you're well. I'm glad that you're safe. And I was watching earlier, do you know the CNN anchor that's been in his basement during this time? And then he made his appearance, and then the real question is, the scandal is this actually, I mean, he filmed himself coming out of the basement and but wasn't he out cycling like 10 days ago? Would he have not seen, have you seen this whole scandal?
I haven't seen the whole thing yet.
Okay.
Get into it now.
Well, before you get too comfortable, Chris, I am wondering if I can put you through the ringer, just like I've done for every other guest, a 60-second rapid fire round.
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, here we go. 60 seconds. I'm going to get my questions. I've got my questions. All right, here we go. 60 seconds starting right now. What's your favorite color?
Green.
Favorite type of ice cream?
Cookies and cream.
Ooh. Favorite type of movie to watch?
Bad comedy movies like Will Ferrell, Adam Sandler, just terrible comedy movies.
Best advice you've ever received?
The hardest thing about starting a business is starting the business.
Ooh. Favorite hobbies?
I spend a lot of time fishing and trying to make wine.
Okay. Something you have never done that most people have done?
Read the Harry Potter books.
What are you most excited about for today?
Hopefully enabling a few people to go make whatever communities they have a little better.
If you could have dinner with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Ben Franklin.
Ooh. First job as a 10-year-old. What was your first job?
I tried to hustle my way into making balloon animals in restaurants for tips under the table till they kicked me out.
That's awesome. Last question here. The first international destination you want to visit when all of this is over?
Oof. Exact city, continent, where are we going here? Botswana, safari.
Hey, yes. I'll come with.
I did Zimbabwe with my wife a little over a year and a half ago, and it was incredible, and we want to get back.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, today we're going to be talking about how to build great community. I've got a few questions for Chris, but if you guys have questions, that are specific to your home situation, your city situation, your community situation, either at work or personally. Chris is the guy that everyone goes to, and he is here for all of us. And so if you got a question, please pop it into the comment section on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you're watching from. And let's have a real conversation that hopefully is valuable to everybody. But let's start with this, Chris. How would you define community? Like, is there only one type of relationship that makes a community? Are there different? So what are the components of a healthy community?
To me, it's actually a tough question because I think it's almost impossible to define community. But to me, it's a collection of people centered around something that's shared. And that can be, 5 friends that played 5th grade soccer together that are still staying together, and that's their community around that. It could be a company community. It could be, everyone that works at your company. It could be a town. It could be an alumni group. But ultimately, it's a collection of people that have a set of shared interests, values, and goals. Okay. And to me, it can be as small as 2 people. It can be as big as 2 million. There's no real hard lines to me on what a community can be.
Okay. And during this time, it's worth mentioning that community most certainly can be virtual, that one can get the benefits of a healthy community even when you can't see them. So we're going to get into that a little bit more. But for those who might be watching and trying to figure out, do I need to listen to this because I think I have a decent community, or man, I think I'm just so far out. Like, I'm an introvert. I don't need friends. I don't need people, which, by the way, I don't know any introverts that say that, because I'm an introvert and I certainly need community around me, just in a slightly different way. But what are some of the essential ingredients of a healthy community that we're going to be discussing on today's show?
Yeah, I think the most important and most commonly overlooked factor of a deep, meaningful community is trust. Okay. And the willingness to be vulnerable with that community, because you can have superficial communities. That's fine. In a way, everyone that walks into a club networking group, that's a lightweight community until someone actually dives in and says, hey, my business is being impacted by this current economic climate, and it's scary. The second that happens, you start to unlock what a real community is, because real communities, and I mean, you mentioned this in the intro, is people that show up when you need them. And even sometimes when you don't know you need them. So I think that trust and vulnerability factor is important, because once you trust those people you're with, you can actually start building a deeper and deeper connection. And I actually think the situation that we're in, unfortunately, on a global level, is forcing deeper connections faster, because the kind of surface level BS that most conversations talk about, oh, how was your day? How was the weather? Oh, the train was delayed, this and that. It's all gone. No one can waste 15 minutes of a conversation building bullshit rapport anymore. It's actually, how are you doing? And people are realizing we're all in the same situation and facing challenges. And I've had more conversations in the last few weeks where people, who I have always respected as like, they have everything together, their businesses are phenomenal, they're multi-million-dollar investors also, and they'll be like, I'm scared about this, this, and this. And all this relationship changes where you're collaborating towards something. And that might be a piece I didn't even think of. Like, communities are typically collaborating towards something, whether that's a community of football fans, like, hey, we want the club to win. Like, that is a collaborative mission versus a group of founders trying to support each other in business. So I think the key factor that most people or actually just completely miss is that element of trust between people.
So as an idea, I totally agree. Trust. And people who have trust intrinsically in certain friends know and appreciate it. But let's get real about it. Who initiates vulnerability? Are you the one that goes, I've got a secret and I don't know who to talk to, so can I talk to you about it? Or is it, do you wait for the other person to maybe share something and then you share something? Do you go deep and say, all right, I just need to tell you the whole story of my whole life. And if you love me at the end of it, we stay friends. If you hate me and you're scared, that's okay. Or do you like let's talk practically.
Yeah.
How do you build trust?
Yeah. So I think it's one thing that you can't really formulaically do because it depends on the person. But I think there is a time and depth factor to this. So for example, Dan and I, we met, half an hour ago for the first time. We got into some stuff, but we found things we aligned on. And then over time, depending on how many times you interact, people offering value to each other and saying, hey, David saying, hey, you should meet with Dan. Cool. Okay. Do that. Every interaction starts to build. And when you start seeing commonalities, if your favorite color is green, there is some psychological piece that's like, okay, we're closer. Okay, we joked around about riding elephants or riding camels. Okay, that's interesting. Like the more you build that, it will just feel natural. And to some people, I mean, I'm like that. I'm an overly transparent person. I will say a lot because I'm not afraid of the impact. I have a strategy that I always use in business and in life. That's what's the worst that can happen.
Yeah.
I tell you, I'm scared that it's going to rain for the next 400 days. The worst thing you can say is, Chris is crazy. Okay. I'm not dead. It's one less person. And so I think a lot of times people overhype what happens if I tell this secret. And 99% of the time, the worst thing that happens is that person walks away. The best thing that happens is that person actually can solve it. And once you get away from that like internal dilemma, you'll be able to move right along.
Good. I love that. Okay. What I'm hearing here, especially about time and depth, is the importance of consistency. Because even if you and I go deep today, we won't continue to build on our friendship unless we touch base again and again and again. And so I love that whole piece about time because like it could be on some people you click and like right away you're sharing your deepest secrets. But if there's no follow through on that, then that friendship dissipates, right?
Well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily the follow up. It is the reliability and consistency. So even if we don't talk for 6 months, but if you send me a note and I respond relatively quickly and vice versa, that's, I think, more important because if I email you every day for the next 30 days and you never respond, you're going to be really annoyed and I'm going to be annoyed and that's not going to work. So I think the follow through on that back and forth, and you probably see this, if you get invited, if your neighbor invites you over to watch a game, to have a barbecue, to watch a TV show. If they invite you 3 times and you never go, the invites are going to stop.
Yeah.
And that's just natural human behavior. You don't want to feel rejected. So I do believe it's consistency, not necessarily times. We all have those friends that we haven't talked to in 3 years, but if the phone rings, you're going to pick it up because you've already built that level of relationship, and that relationship was probably built on reliability. And I think that is probably the bigger piece on the trust is like, are you reliable to handle this secret?
Wow, that's really good. I hadn't thought about that before. I love that. Yeah, reliability and how quickly is our response. I think that is a stronger indicator of the friendship than if I'm just harassing someone every day and it's not going anywhere. Matthew in Israel has a very important question. He goes, but for real, which, elephants or camels? Camels or elephants? So I've ridden both. Have you ridden both, Chris?
Not both, just elephants. Okay. Which I think Dan's suggestion is elephants are a little safer.
I don't know about safer. Well, they certainly move a little bit slower and their gait is a little bit easier to follow. And there's also a larger surface area to play with. Whereas with camels, there's a smaller surface area. Their movement is awkward, but the worst is the getting up. Like camels don't get up in a cool way, even for themselves, let alone with a human on them. But I think the most important part is I don't think humans should be on any animals. But if you happen to be on one of them, then maybe a elephant is going to be a little bit easier. Unless you want a funny video for YouTube, in which case go on a camel, because that will be hilarious. Excellent. Since we talked about trust being a key component, reliability being another key important component of a good community, you've also mentioned about having common goals or shared values, as well as going somewhere together. Let's talk about stuff that ruins communities. What are the clear no-nos? What are things people should stop doing right now?
I think the number one there is being too transactional and measuring, oh, I helped Dan. When is Dan going to help me? That is the kiss of death. If you are trying to put together a community and measure what you're getting out of things, it's not going to go well. Like the strongest communities have people that are givers, that give not to expect something in return. So I would definitely say the transactional view of community is a kiss of death. And what will happen is it will infect the rest of the community. That one person being very transactional will slowly drive down. Granted, if your community is a transactional community where you're saying, hey, we're all referring business to each other, that's probably fine. But in the general state of it, if you're like, hey, I'm trying to build a meaningful ecosystem in my city, people shouldn't be like, oh, I helped 4 people, no one's helped me. Like, I'm out of here. That the second that happens. And the second is, I think, when you don't allow people to be themselves. So one of the things that we kind of touch on shared vision, but like shared interests and shared passions are important to those relationships, but they need to happen organically. It's, I used to run a networking event, actually one of the ones that David and I met at early on. And we used to actually not have name tags that were like the name of your company. We used if you could have coffee with anyone dead or alive for 30 minutes, who it would be.
Yeah.
People bonded over that answer.
Yes.
Way more than, can I sell to that person? Can that person get me where I'm trying
100%.
to get? And that is what you need to do. So I think trying to prescribe too much on like the why people are talking, and this gets into a little bit of one of my passion points, is like mentoring versus peer-to-peer. Like if you get too forceful of Chris meet Michelle, Michelle meet Chris, you guys are now mentor-mentee, 75% of the time that's going to fail.
Okay.
If it happens over time where we help each other, we get to know each other, that organic relationship happens. You look at it like a romantic relationship in a way. Like you don't meet someone and get married and spend the rest of your life together the next day. There's a process. So I think that same view has to be taken when it comes to our mentor-mentee relationships. But the peer-to-peer is also really critical. Like it's great to be able to call someone that's in the same situation as you to get their point of view. So I look at like micro mentoring or peer-to-peer mentoring as a way to just tap into your network very quickly. And then there's long-term mentor relationships, but those typically take, I think, years to develop. It's not something that happens organically day one. Some people do it and it's successful. I just haven't found success that way.
And maybe we can talk about specifics of how to be a good mentee and a good mentor. But there's a question here that is fantastic. And it actually comes from a classmate of mine from when we were, schoolmate of mine when we were in Morocco together. She goes, hi, from Pittsburgh, working as a respiratory therapist and doing long 12-hour shifts. Thank you for your work that you do. We have a strong community with our coworkers. Outside of my immediate family and work, I don't have a group of friends. How do I get over the fact that I don't have friends to hang out with on a regular basis and the feeling of missing out? Before you give that answer and while you think about the answer, the only thing I want to say to you, Alia, is I'm so glad that you brought that up, because even though you may feel alone in that, I think so many people are in the same boat. So while you may be articulating it, I think there are many other people that are feeling it as well. So I really want to thank you for asking that question. You've got good community at work, but it is a work community. When you come home, it's so easy to feel lonely and to feel like everyone else has got friends and everyone else is doing that thing on Instagram and everyone else is like going on epic holidays and you're just doing laundry or cleaning up after your kids, and where are the friends there? Why is no one sitting on the couch and talking to you while you're doing house duties? I totally get that. So Chris, do you have an answer to that?
Yeah, I would say I would echo thank you for asking that, because to that trust and vulnerability piece, that's, I'm sure, like you said, Dan, there's a lot of people feeling that wouldn't have the guts to say it. So thank you for that first. Second is how to actually tackle it is, I would say, think about the 2 or 3 things you really enjoyed doing, even if it's by yourself. So sit there and say, you know what, I really enjoy board games, bad movies, and trivia, regardless of what those things are. And take the next step, which you're already halfway there of like the okay being vulnerable, and try to find, whether it's through Eventbrite, Meetup, Facebook events, try to find a few events that are going on around those topics and go there vulnerably and start a conversation with one person. And when you have that conversation, talk about the topic. Don't talk about work. Go there. If you're going to the knitting club, talk about knitting and let those relationships kind of start to build. And don't feel bad if you go to one and you don't meet anyone that, like, I don't really get along with this person. But if you start to kind of put yourself in those situations with people that have shared interests, you're going to exponentially increase the odds that you two are going to get along. So, for example, if you love staying in and playing board games and Roger loves going out to EDM concerts, no matter what, you two are probably not going to be great friends on that topic. But if you start finding those commonalities, you can build those interests, and then it becomes following up. And this, Dan, to your earlier point, is how do you then proactively say, hey, I want to get a few people together. You get that one person, say, okay, I want to get a few people together to do a knitting night at this, or we want to go to a Pirates game. I saw you said Pittsburgh. Hey, we're all going to go to a Pirates game when everything goes back to normal. Could still be the knitting club in that baseball world. Who else should we invite? And then let each one person bring one more. And I think you can start to build a circle that way and be authentic. Because the other piece about communities and relationships where I see things fail is where people try to be something that they're not. And everyone feels that awkwardness. And there's going to be plenty of people in the world that you don't get along with outside of work or outside of pieces or, work, school, whatever it is. What are those secondary buckets? Find the people and just be yourself, because once you feel comfortable, you're going to start attracting more and more people. That comfort level, I always joke, it's like the cool person at the bar, the cool person at the party. It's not because they're cool, it's because they're relaxed and just being themselves. And the people that are like that gravitate to it. So I would say, think about the things you really love to do. Find where other people that love those things are, go there, and engage with the ones you're naturally actually getting along with. And just try to do that, commit to doing it once a week. I know it's going to be hard with 12-hour shifts, so maybe once every other week, or if you have a day off. Virtually, it's a lot harder, but there are still virtual meetups and things along those lines. Who knows? Maybe we can run a virtual Daily Show with DanRam viewer meetup, and just everyone jumps on a Zoom and talks. But that would be kind of my view of how to kind of try to tackle that. I don't know if that's the right answer, wrong answer, but hopefully it helps a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for answering that. The only thing I would say as a pre-step to that is be kind to yourself. It is okay for you to take time out for yourself, and especially if you are a parent, if you and the pressures, with work and with being a parent and all that could be excessive. And so it is okay for you to take 30 minutes out for yourself. It is okay for you to take 60 minutes to yourself. And it's not about comparing to someone else that maybe has 4 hours a day to themselves or who has a whole weekend. It's not about comparing. It's just for you, what do you need? And on a certain day, it could be 10 minutes, just 10 minutes to shut out the world, shut out work, maybe blast some music and have an extended shower and just sing and dance in the shower, and it will rejuvenate you. And that's good enough. And for some people, you might be able to carve out an hour for you to hang out with your own friends or to call a friend. So for me right now, because I can't go out anywhere, I just have in my calendar that I'm going to reach out for one great conversation a day. I have lots of work conversations. I have a lot of Zoom calls. I have a lot of Google Hangout meetings, but I always make time for one great conversation. And that is a friend that I really care about. And I actually schedule it. It's not accidental. It's not also spontaneous. I schedule that I'm going to connect at a heart level with one person a day. And that's enough to fuel all the serving, all the giving, all the doing that I do. If I have that one good conversation to fuel me at some point during the day. So yeah, be kind to yourself and carve time out.
And I think I love the planned view. The one thing that I do is once a week, I take my phone, pull up my contact list, and I do this. You go like this a few times, and then stop it. and pick one person in that section that you're going to call. 80% of the time, you're going to leave them a voicemail. 20% of the time, you're having an awesome conversation with someone you haven't thought about, talked to in a long time. And 95% of the time that someone answers, a conversation goes like this. Hey, what's up? Hey, really random, but I call one random person a day and it's been way too long. How are you? And just go. And sometimes I'm too busy to talk, but then sometimes you get into this really deep stuff. And it's increasing your odds, that serendipity. And for me, that's the thing that I love is what are the ways that I can help the people in my network? So whether it's scheduling time, I keep a pay it forward block on my calendar where I have a 2-hour block every week that I just schedule first come, first serve could be people I don't know, could be people I know. And the second is just that random call once a week. I think those are things that if you want to build a better community around you, if you become the person that's that connective tissue in your network and are reliable, you're going to have no problems with a thriving community around you.
Yeah, and Chris is serious about being available. In fact, this is his LinkedIn. So if you just go to linkedin.com/IN, you know how that works. And then his full name, Christopher J. Wolfel. And on there is his email. So if you message or email him, first come, first serve, but he'll be happy to chat with you on anything that you want to chat about. So that is a offer that he has made. It's on there, linkedin.com/IN/Christopher J. Wolfel. Probably one last question from my end.
Yeah.
If any of you have questions, feel free to drop it in. But practically, what can people do right now when all they have is a phone or a laptop? What are some suggestions you have for people, whether they're introverted or extroverted, whether they're surrounded by friends or not surrounded by friends? What are things we can do to build great community right now?
Yeah, I think, especially in a time like we are right now, it is find something that you can do to help one person a week.
Good.
And that could be as simple as, an entrepreneur that needs an introduction. That could be as simple as, in my hometown, I've seen people that are just ordering meals from local restaurants and delivering them to the hospital for no one, just saying for the healthcare workers to the local restaurants, keeping the local restaurants having business, keeping the healthcare workers fed. That's an amazing thing to do, and anyone can do that. And yes, you're not going to get a press headline as, Michelle did this, Chris did that, but that's not what it's about. It's about that internal. And if you have people, if there's people directly in your network, you can help find that or proactively say it. Go post on Facebook, go post on LinkedIn and say, hey, I know times are hard. If you want to talk, if you need help, I'm here. And you'll be amazed. People will reach out and you'll start to build those connections and communities. So just find a way to pay it forward once a week. And I think that's the best thing to build that community, because we'll all come out of this stronger by doing that.
I love that. That is so practical. And if I can echo a sentiment in that message is give before you expect to receive. And I think a big part of community in general is around that. Find ways to give value, and no doubt it's going to come back and you will receive value too.
But don't expect it to come back. If you plan on giving 100% of the time and receiving 0%, you'll end up great. If you give 100% of the time and expect to get 10%, you're still going to be disappointed. So the world is a weird way of working that way. So I'm an alum of the Techstars program, and they have a thing called Give First, which is the way that they look at how people should support each other. And your first instinct should always be to give, never to take. And I think that is a great way to go about life. Yeah.
The author of the book that we've been suggesting, and maybe Chris, you can share a little bit of what that book's about. He says, become what you're looking for. So again, the book suggests for those of you looking for a good book during this time, which probably will help tremendously with your concepts around community and building community, is Unlocking the Power of Relational Networking. Have you read this book, Chris? What's it about? What would you suggest?
David, I know you're listening. This is a book that probably is in my top 5 of recommendations I give to everyone when they say, how do I move forward in my life and my career? And the importance here is showing up and being reliable. Like when someone relies on you, you become fulfilled internally. And David said, become what you're looking for. Like, what people are looking for are people that are helpful. Like, go there, help each other, be the person that you want to be friends with, the person you want to be connected with, and do it genuinely, because people can sniff it out. Most people don't make the effort to show up. Like, someone could, Dan emailed me, said, hey, I want you to be on this show. I could have ignored it, but this seems awesome. That was my thought, and now I'm here. And I think I've spent a lot of time with a lot of very successful entrepreneurs, politicians, investors, and 99% of the time, they basically say, like, a lot of this was hard work, but the hardest part was recognizing the opportunity, showing up and doing it. So if you can do those things, it'll unlock a lot.
I love that. That is so good. So again, Christopher is available to help out, answer questions around community. This is how you get in touch with him. So do follow him on LinkedIn. Chris, my man, thank you so much for being on the show and for sharing all this stuff about how to build good community. I hope you'll come back in some format somewhere, and hopefully sometime in a physical conference. It'd be lovely to meet you when the airwaves open up again.
Sounds great. Thank you for having me.
Of course, my pleasure. Stick around backstage and let me chat with you guys. Guys, thank you so much wherever you tune in from around the world. I know a lot of people watching this live. I know many of you watch this on replay. We've had a great conversation about how to build community. This is no time to be making excuses, to be feeling lonely. Look, the circumstances suck. The situation is terrible. I understand that. But something that will help you through this is good people you can rely on, lean on, trust, and they're all around, because one thing is this COVID-19 has normalized so much and has leveled us all. And so everyone's available at a different level than before. So let's use this time to really build great community. Connect with Chris if he can help you out with that. As far as our show goes, today's the 23rd, which means we've got exactly one more week that I was planning to do the live stream. Something I'd like to talk about, not right now, but something that I'd love for you to connect with me about is, should we continue this in May? And the reason I'm asking you this is because this show was never about me. It's why, while I do some talking, the show is not about Dan being a speaker and an MC. This show is about celebrating the incredible community and the people that are all around us, and hopefully shining the light on some great stories. And so if you would like to see this continue in May, please contact me. And we were chatting as a team about what we should do as a big band ending. And we were thinking about a concert. And last night, David said, why don't we make it a benefit concert? There are so many people right now that could really use a little help. And so that's the plan right now, is to do a benefit concert. And so I just want to keep you in the loop with that, because I know some of you have really enjoyed the music guests that we have, and we're going to be bringing them on. Speaking of which, on Friday, we have not one, but two guests who are both in the music industry. One is a Grammy-nominated producer, and the other one is a rapper and a songwriter. So Friday is going to be amazing from the music side of things. And yeah, we've just continued. Wait, is tomorrow Friday? Tomorrow is Friday. Oh my gosh, it's happening tomorrow. That is so exciting. And this weekend, of course, we've got some great guests as well. So I hope you'll keep joining us every night. But please, let's have this conversation outside of the live stream. Just message me. Let me know what your thoughts are for the show. Should we continue it? Do you have some guests that you'd like to recommend if we were to continue it? And if you have any ideas as to how to make this benefit concert superb, then message me. I always end with saying this every single show. Today's a gift. Grab a hold of it. Don't be afraid to start now. Start simple. Thank you so much for joining. We'll catch you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Goodbye.